Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Bluetron, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. One thing I, as an insecure little child, do quite often is evaluate criticism my old videos get. Sometimes it's for good reasons, like I made the video day one of release to cash in on hype and the list is loose. Sometimes it's for bad reasons, like you should try playing Phoenix mode in here, and sometimes it's because of extenuating circumstances, like Fusion Tag Machine broke. Today's video is a case of the former, a relook at a deck that I really like, but pretty clearly screwed up the last time I checked it out. I am talking about OJAMA ABC. So here's the list. Looks better, right? In my defense, probably the best addition to the deck, Destrudo, wasn't even out at the time of the last video. As always, I'll give you a little bit of background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and as always, the card by card. So firstly, for those of you that don't know, ABC is an archetype of Kaiba retrains, replacing the now-defunct XYZ cannons with a new, shiny, banishing one. Ojamas are... God, they're just a meme. It'll be the year 2050 and all will come to an end with the deafening silence of a nuclear aftermath, only for one shrill Yu-Gi-Oh player to use their dying breath for an OJAMA reference. These little bean-looking dudes share the same genetic code with minions, and are largely a useless bunch of level 2 monsters. The reason we're playing them and ABC together is because of this spell card, OJAMA Assimilation, designed to marry several different archetypes all used by Chaz in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Since said character used Armed Dragons, Ojamas, and VWXYZ, all of those cards are referenced and supported by these absolutely unholy cards. OJAMA Assimilation, however, made a critical error in only specifying a light machine monster and not VWXYZ, so we're going to jerry-rig ourselves a Dragon Buster out of the broken bodies of banished Ojamas. Now, there are a couple of very powerful lines for this deck. Like several other ABC builds, we are playing Destrudo, but unlike other ABC builds, we have a really good reason for doing so. By discarding Ojama Magic, we can easily go +2 on Dragon's Ravine, then if you got the Ojama Assimilation, you can turbo out an ABC Dragon Buster. Our backup lines are also very good. We've got the ability to make Ancient Fairy Dragon pretty frequently, which can almost always produce an Underclock Taker and an ABC Dragon Buster. For our worst case scenarios, we can play Disruption with a suite of rank 4s, then go ham on our next turn with Ojama Party, one of the most absurd searching tools in the history of time. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Firstly, our Ojamas. Now this is a pretty standard suite, 2 of Ojama Green, 2 of Ojama Yellow, 2 of Ojama Black, and 1 Ojama Red in case we draw a whole bunch of them at once, plus he is a great party target. After that is Destrudo, who is nuts, then 2 of each piece, A, B, and C. For spells, we've got 3 Ojama Assimilation, which reveals 1 light machine from the extra deck and any Ojamas from your hand, field, or graveyard, then tags them out for the materials and can banish itself to shuffle 3 banished Ojamas back into your deck and draw a card. Next is 3 Ojama Magic, which, when it goes to the graveyard, adds a black, green, and yellow to your hand. Next are the fields, 3 copies of Union Hanger and 3 copies of Dragon's Ravine, which is a great hit for Ojama Magic, and 3 Terraforming. Finally, we have 1 Foolish Burial for Destrudo in corner cases, 3 copies of Twin Twisters, another fine discard opportunity, 2 Pots of Desires, and Traps. First are 2 Ojama Party, which protects your light machines and armed dragons, adds Ojama cards to your hand, and then makes you discard a card, and then floats into banished Ojamas when it goes to the grave, and 3 Solemns, 2 Strikes, and a Judgment. In the extra, we've got 3 ABC Buster Dragon, Ancient Fairy Dragon, Black Rose Dragon, Tornado Dragon, Bujenti Tsukiyomi, Abyss Dweller, Baguska, Sky Cavalry, Borreload, Saruya, Genius, Proxy, and Underclock Taker. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is a quickie against Magical Musketeer, the deck that probably has the largest disparity between play rate online and play rate in paper. You can see that we're going first, which is excellent, but our opponent has opened Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, so this is really just going to be a lesson in what happens when we get interacted with. We're going to start by activating this copy of Union Hanger. Of course, you can't Ghost Ogre it on activation because the effect triggers on activation, but you can Ghost Ogre it when you go to attach from deck, which is what our opponent's going to do. We'll Pot of Desires. We have already used our normal summon, but this Ojama Assimilation allows us to get a C from deck. We'll then go to a Genius, trigger the effect of C to get the B out of our hand, then go into an Underclock Taker so we can get material for the ABC that we're going to make under it. Our opponent's going to start by normal summoning a Caspar, then activating a Death Barado. We can prevent the Death Barado from resolving with any effect by removing the Magical Musketeer on their side of the field, so we'll do just that and then chain out our ABC Buster Dragon. Since it serves no purpose from here on out, our opponent will concede. So, what do you know? Some decks need their normal summon. Our second match is up against Pendulum Magician, splashing a small Magispector engine. I expect what this is meant to do is fill in the space left by Time Pendulum Graph and give them something to do on their opponent's turn. Unfortunately, we're going second. Our opponent's going to start by setting this copy of Chronograph Sorcerer and this Astrograph, using Astrograph's effect to set a Stargazer, then summoning Chronograph and Bunbuku from hand. They'll go ahead and use Chronograph's effect to destroy itself and get a Time Gazer, then Pendulum summon Toad Ogama and Kyubi. They'll use the Fox and the Frog's effect to get a copy of Magispector Magispector Cyclone and a Magispector Tempest to hand and pass it back. So things aren't looking great, but we are playing some pretty relevant cards. We're going to go ahead and Terraforming, get Dragon's Ravine. We'll send a card to Graveyard to get Destrudo in there, get 3 cards off our OJAMA, normal summon this black, and then go for a Pot of Desires. We draw into a Twin Twisters. Probably shouldn't have summoned the black, but still should be fine. We'll destroy both of those set cards, go into a Union Hanger, set a Twin Twister, and pass it back. Our opponent's going to draw into a Tempest, set it, and then go to combat. We'll take 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, and 1,300 is just 700 off lethal, so we are still alive. At end step, we're going to go ahead and Twin Twister those 2 cards, one of which is a Tempest. Very happy to see that off the board. We're going to go ahead and equip something off of this C and our Union Hanger. We'll then pay a whopping 350 life points for Destrudo and go into Ancient Fairy Dragon. We'll trigger the effect of C and the effect of A. Then we'll use Ancient Fairy Dragon's effect to destroy the Union Hanger to get ourselves a Dragon's Ravine, which we can trigger by sending the C to the graveyard to get another Destrudo. We'll then use the B effect to get a B2 hand and go into an Underclock Taker and an ABC Dragon Buster. We'll use the effect of Underclock Taker and the effect of ABC Dragon Buster to clear off our opponent's field, save for the OJAMA, and then pass it back. Our opponent draws into a, oh my god, Wisdom Eye. That is a pretty lit draw. Unfortunately, we can just banish the Magician in response to the set. They'll attack over our Underclock Taker, but we are quite healthy because of our Ancient Fairy Dragon, and this should just be the end of the game. We get to tag out in main phase 2 into A, B, and C. We don't have any targets remaining, but that's not a big deal. We'll go into Genius, trigger the effect of C, use Genius's effect to target the Wisdom Eye Magician, then Tornado Dragon it away, go into an ABC Buster Dragon, and attack for 500, 2,100, and just enough for lethal. Alright, so it's time for Game 3, and you know what that means. It is a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent is playing Plant Zombie Lightsworn, a deck that is pretty good. We've opened pretty well. We have almost everything we need. Pot of Desires, unfortunately, is going to get Ash Blossomed, so we'll see how much we can get done after we banish all the good cards in our deck. We'll start by firing said Pot of Desires off. It's really a -11, huh? We're going to go ahead and activate this copy of OJAMA Simulation. I still think we can make this work by getting an A Assault Core and going into Tsukiyomi like it's 2015. We trigger OJAMA Magic, look at that plussing, and this OJAMA Simulation is not once per turn. We draw into another copy, and now we can go into ABC by returning all 3 of these back to the deck and drawing for our OJAMA Simulation second effect, going into Underclock Taker, ABC, and setting a Solemn. Our opponent's going to start by activating the copy of Orpheus Scorpio. We'll Solemn Strike in response, and really that's basically the end of their turn. They'll Pot of Desires, but they draw into a couple of monsters, which isn't particularly threatening. We get to tag out at end step, which is excellent news for us, and then on our turn, we're going to draw into a Dragon's Ravine. Unfortunately, the Destrudo is in the banish zone, but we can still go into the Saruya, trigger the effect of A, and then draw a whole bunch of cards. We'll go ahead and Saruya out the B, but unfortunately, I don't think we can assemble lethal. We can do a fair amount of damage. 28 and 33 and 12 is a lot, and we do have a Solemn Judgment set, so things are looking pretty good. Our opponent's going to start by activating this copy of Charge of the Light Brigade, getting themselves a Ride into hand and triggering the effect of Wolf and Graveyard, then Solar Recharging, triggering the effect of Mizuki, and trying to go into Black Rose Dragon, which we will Solemn Judgment. They still have normal, so they'll go ahead and normal summon the Goblinberg, also a Shinrai Solitaire, which will banish, and they'll concede. Alright, so pretty promising Game 1. Let's see how Game 2 goes. Our opponent's going first, and we haven't opened any hand traps, so let's see how far they can go. They're going to start by activating this copy of Charge of the Light Brigade, milling 3, and adding a copy of Ride into hand. They hit a Wolf, and a Darling Tonia Cobra. Doesn't that always happen? They'll go ahead and Reborn the Trick Clown as well. Activate another Charge of the Light Brigade. No OPT on that card. It's too old. Go into a Raiden and a Curious. They'll send a copy of Glow Up Bulb, and then mill 3, one of which is a Mizuki. They'll go for a Shiranui Solitaire into a Unizombie with Mizuki effect. They'll then use its effect to send a Gozuki to graveyard, then special summon a copy of Mizuki from their hand, go into Glow Up Bulb, and ooh, Naturia Beast. Can I beat that card? I don't know. We're now going to get Omega Looped. They're going to get 1 Omega. They're going to use Fairy Tale Snow to end on a Tornado Dragon and then pass it back. So I think we're just dead here. We have no cards that out Naturia Beast. We'll normal summon this copy of a Assault Core. They'll negate our first spell. We'll set the second one, baiting them with the Tornado Dragon into giving us a +2 with these Ojamas in hand. We'll be unstoppable. Unfortunately, they have lethal many times over. They're just going to go ahead and attack after using Solitaire's effect, dealing 200, 1300, 2200, 2400, and 2800 damage. Alright, okay, sometimes that happens. You lose to a giant established board that you never could have beat in a million years, but as my grandfather once said, the best way to out a big board is to go first. You can see that finally we are going first, and our opponent has no interaction, so let's just see how far we can go. We'll start by normal summoning this A that we get off of Union Hanger, attaching a copy of C from our deck, then activating OJAMA Simulation so that we can get a B by banishing this OJAMA Black. We'll go ahead and go into Genius, then trigger B's effect, banish 10 cards, draw a couple, and then make an ABC. Now in that banish banished pile is a face-down A that becomes relevant pretty quickly. Our opponent's going to lead with a Charge of the Light Brigade, getting a Performage Trick Clown from graveyard, and then Pot of Desires into a Giant Rex and a Foolish Burial. They're going to go ahead and use Fairy Tale Snow's effect. We will banish Fairy Tale Snow in response and tag out as well. This is basically exactly where we want to be, getting rid of Fairy Tale Snow pretty big in this matchup. We'll go ahead and equip a C, the last remaining piece from deck. They'll go ahead and Foolish Burial into a Wolf so that they can make Minerva. Then, oh my god, wait. Oh no. I mean, we can't beat that. We're out of A's. We can't make another ABC. I guess we'll OJAMA Assimilation into a C and a B from graveyard, then use its secondary effect to shuffle 3 OJAMAs back into hand and Tsukiyomi into, I don't even know what we could draw. We'll go into Underclock Taker, and we can't even use its effect because it has 0 attack. So we're back with the deck. That last one was a bit of a heartbreaker, but honestly, it feels like a miracle that we even took a game off of that deck. This deck is missing a lot. I'll start by saying that it's a blast. I had an enormous amount of fun playing with it, etc., etc., but there are some pretty big holes in it. For starters, you have to play the OJAMAs, which cuts in a hand trap space, and the deck suffers as a result. Additionally, it has literally no effective backup plan. Should your opponent Reaper away your ABC, you are just completely dead, and you don't even get the benefit of playing the full suite of good traps like Torrential, since you're playing stuff like OJAMA Party. If I were to make changes, I might try to find room for Galaxy Soldiers. At the very least, that would give you something to do with the extra OJAMAs you draw, and Assimilation doesn't actually care if they're in the hand or in the graveyard, plus it's another must-negate for opponents. Aside from that, while this meme deck certainly can hold its own, it's not taking down worlds anytime soon. So that's that. Tune in next time when I play OJAMA Assimilation in Cyber Dragons, the literal only other reasonable target. If you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, my Twitch is below at twitch.tv/monobluetron, and if you have an archetype you'd like to see me explore on a future episode of this show, let me know in the comments section below and I will do my best. Otherwise, I'll see you on Wednesday.